Tessa from Mama's Geeky here. Thank you so much for stopping by my YouTube channel. Hey ladies, I'm Tessa Smith with MamasGeeky.com, and thank you guys so much for taking the time today. Super appreciate it. Now this movie is obviously a lot about dealing with that inner voice that I think we all have. Angela, I would love to know if you have any advice on dealing with your inner voice that's not so nice.
Well, I think the biggest thing is that to know that it doesn't matter how old you are, you still have it, it's a lifelong journey, right? And there's days where you feel like I got this, and there's days where you're like, I can't do it. I can't do it. And just to know that there'll always be that next day, right? That you're going to get to the other side of it, that you're going to be okay. And none of it is as big as what is in your head, right? The reality of it is always much smaller. And I think the one thing that comes with age is knowing that you get to the other side, that you do get through it. And so I loved that message in this movie, in particular when Helene, is like, pull over, Richie. And they have a moment where they just talk it out with her.
Yeah, well, I asked Angela, so Emily, why don't you let us know if you have any advice for people that are out there dealing with that inner voice and how they can get past it?
Yeah, and this is coming from Harper. It's like, if you don't learn to control that voice in your head, it's going to end up controlling you. And it's so true, because you're the one who's manifesting this noise in your head. Just like throughout this whole process, I was so scared, directing my first big studio film. I thought everyone was gonna know I didn't know what I was doing and make fun of me. Like, no one did that. Like, no cast, no crew, no producer ever made me feel like I wasn't qualified. I was the only one who was telling myself that. And sometimes you just have to find that voice within yourself to lift yourself up rather than tearing yourself down.
If you could give one piece of advice to your teen self, what would that be?
Wow. I would tell my 14-year-old self that someday you'll get to direct a movie for Netflix in your favorite genre. I think the 14-year-old self need to hear that, because I think like where I am today seemed like such an impossible dream when I was 14, because at the time it's like, how many Asian American female directors do you see directing movies? And my parents thought I was crazy. Like, do you see anyone that looks like you that does this? Like, you need to go and like major in accounting, because you will never make it in this industry. So just the fact that where we are now, that like an Asian American female director just won the Oscar last year for Best Director. I think my 14-year-old self needed to hear that and know that this dream is not so crazy, it's not so impossible, that someday that Hollywood will want to hear our stories and see people that look like us behind cameras.
That's so great. I think I would tell my 14-year-old self, you're done growing. You're not going to get any taller. This is it for you. Be okay with it. There's high heels. There's other things. But in all seriousness, one of the things my mom told me, I have 3 sisters. So we had this house full of women, and she would constantly say to us, I mean, constantly, still to this day, she is 83 and she still says it. She says, why not you? Why not you? And you're the person that puts limits on yourself. So stop. And I recently, started a whole new job, podcasting, and I've never done that. And I was nervous. And my mom was like, why not you? Again, like she said it my whole life. And it just rings true. Why not? Why not me? I can do it.
Hello, Emily. I have heard that when you do anything that has a show within a show element, that it can almost be like creating a second movie. And I was wondering what it was like for you to bring Bye Bye Birdie to life in the film.
Yeah, the Bye Bye Birdie element was honestly my favorite thing to direct in the whole film. I had such anxiety going in, I was like, I do not know how to put together a musical. So we like punted to the last week of production. But once we got there, we were so ready because we've been practicing for weeks. And the thing I want to do with Bye Bye Birdie is like, we really wanted to kind of modernize it a little bit. It's still sort of like set in that mid-century 60s, but like with all the songs and everything, it just had a kind of like a dated feel. So it was a real pleasure to kind of like figure out the sound and reinventing Bye Bye Birdie for today's audience. That I think was like the biggest creative challenge, but also the most fun. And I really hope that if people are not aware of Bye Bye Birdie, they'll watch the film and really seek out the original. Yeah, that would be really cool to kind of give Bye Bye Birdie a new resurgence in pop culture.
Thank you so much to all of my monetary supporters, my members here on YouTube, as well as my patrons. If you haven't joined yet, please consider doing so. We have some really awesome perks, including a monthly Zoom meeting where we get to talk face to face. Thank you again to everyone who supports me.